One of my art students had a strange talent. Before I start, I just want to apologize if I do something wrong. I'm a bit old and I can't keep up with all this new technology. But I heard this was a place to share scary stories, and the story I have to tell is definitely scary. I have had hundreds of students in my 30 years as a high school art teacher. Most of them were unremarkable, ordinary teens whose names I can't even remember. I can't say the same about Mary, too. Mary was short and kind of pudgy. She wore thick glasses and had acne on her face. She always had this deer in headlights look on her face and was always looking down at the ground. It was like there was a kick me sign superglued on her back. As you might have guessed, she was a target of her classmates' bullying. Before you say anything, I did try to do something about it, but I was ignored, both by my coworkers and by Mary's classmates. Mary had a real passion for art, especially painting. I can still remember the way her face lit up whenever she moved the brush across the canvas. She was very good at it too, though she didn't know it. It broke my heart to hear people insult her work, but it was even more heartbreaking when she was one of those people. But that's not why I remember her so vividly. See, Mary had a talent I hope to God nobody else has. I remember the day I found out about it. The way she came to see me at lunch with that sparkle in her eyes. I think this was the first time I ever saw her looking genuinely happy. "I have something to show you," she whispered. She led me to a storage closet and pulled out a piece of paper which she had drawn a stickman on. She sat down, putting the paper in front of her. She started to move her hands over the paper, whispering something, looking like she was in a trance nobody could break. "Look at the paper," she whispered. I could make out the faintest movement from the stickman. It moved slowly but steadily, crawling its way out of the paper. Mary moved her hand to the right, the stickman moved to the right. She kept moving her hands around, and the stickman followed her every move, letting her guide it. There was no way this could be real. I stood there, staring at her, unable to move or say anything. I'm ashamed to admit this, but I couldn't help but feel a pang of fear. I knew she was a nice girl and that she'd never hurt anyone, but she was bullied a lot, and even the nicest people could snap. I think she must have sensed my fear because she looked hurt, even after I told her that this ability was amazing and how impressed I was. I couldn't get it out of my head for the whole day. The way she made that thing move, it was incredible. Like magic. No, it was magic. And she trusted me enough to show me. God, I remember feeling so loved at that moment. Looking back, I was lucky to be on her good side. The next day, as soon as I entered, I heard an ear-splitting, high-pitched scream echo through the corridors. It was coming from the second floor. Mary's classroom, to be precise. I dashed in, panicked, trying to see what was going on. I sniffed the screen when I saw it. In the center of the classroom was a giant black mass. It looked like it was made out of angry, wild scribbles. All the students were huddled into one corner of the room. Some were clinging to one another, others were screaming or just quietly sobbing. Some of them ran out. Those were the ones that survived. Everyone looked terrified, except Mary. Mary was standing at the front of the classroom with a smug grin on her face. The air of powerlessness she usually had about her was gone. I never noticed how odd she looked without it. She outstretched her arm. The black mass lunged at the students. It sucked them in. They all became one with it, losing their shape until they were merged with the darkness. She stood there, taking deep breaths, that unhinged grin still on her face. She started laughing. It started out as slight giggles, then she gradually turned into maniacal grand laughter. I remember being surprised at just how happy she sounded. Then she noticed me. We made eye contact for a few seconds. I took a step back, my breath short and shallow. Then she said, in a much too gleeful voice, "I guess they won't be bothering me anymore." Thank you for listening to my narration. The link to the original story is in the description. You can also check other author stories, and if you want to see more of my work, make sure you subscribe because I will be posting a lot of horror content. Leave a comment. I want to know what you liked and what you hated so I can keep improving. Share this with your friends, and if you have your own stories that you'd like to get narrated by me, you can hit me up on Reddit or Twitter. All the links are down below, so I believe you know what to do. See you next time.